Hi there guys, JT here from Underground RX, and I just want to share with you 6 things that are often overlooked when you're preparing or when you're competing in a CrossFit competition. And you know, these things on the outside could be quite obvious, but hopefully there's a little bit of detail in there which you can take away from this. All of these things as well have been learned from my experience as an athlete competing at that regional level, and then also through my athletes when they're competing in competitions, and it's something I pass on to them and it really helps them. So the first thing is your environment. If you can get your environment right, it makes a huge difference. And what I mean by environment is, if it's a 2-day competition, for example, whereabouts is your hotel? What sort of hotel is it, and what are the facilities like? Also, your environment includes your travel, how you're getting to the competition, how you're getting to and from each workout, what you're doing in between workouts. So your environment is outside of the actual event or the workout is what you know, where you go and what you do and how relaxed you can be. If you are in a 2 or 3 day event, being there watching all the events as well just takes the energy out of you. So you need to remove yourself from that environment and put yourself in an environment which is aligned with recovery. And also when it comes to the hotel you're staying at or where you're staying, if you can get a good quality room with good facilities, whether it's got a swimming pool, things like that for recovery, makes a huge difference, okay? So think about that a little bit more for yourself, your environment, which is how you're getting there, and also the place you're staying when you are there. The second thing I want to talk about is your support crew. So, you know, the group of people that come with you to help you. And that could be anyone from a physio, it could be a partner, it could be a coach, it could just be a group of friends. But your support crew are going to be really critical, especially when you get further and further to that higher level. You don't want to have to think about the little things. And if you can have someone there that can, you know, tell you what time your heat is, run over the next point, which is strategy, run over your strategy with you before you go out, help you with your warm-up, just pretty much be there to support you, make sure you are getting the right nutrition in, which is another point that's going to come, so that they're the person, they're like your rock, right? You don't have to think about all the little things, they can help you tape your hands or your feet, whatever you need to tape. Just having that support crew there, that person that knows you well, and their sole job is to come and help you. They're not there for any other reason but to help you. That's one thing that makes a huge difference, absolutely huge difference. So if you can find that person or get someone to come and fill that role for you, that's going to be a massive help. The next thing is your equipment, and that's the clothes you wear right down to your skipping rope and your accessories, things like that. If you're doing an event which involves rope climbs, for example, you're going to make sure you want to sort of protect your shins. If you've got double unders coming up, check your skipping rope. I've seen them break mid-workout, and you know, that ruins your event, your weekend. Make sure all the screws are tight. Make sure you've got a little bit of tape on the edge of the rope, depending on which type of rope you've got, so that if the screw does come loose, the bolt doesn't fly off the end. Make sure you've got a spare rope there as well. I always carry 2 ropes out onto the competition floor with me, so if one breaks or for whatever reason you need another rope, you've got one right then and there, because at that regional level nobody can give you equipment, nobody can pass you something. What you take onto the floor is what you have to use with you. Same with your weightlifting shoes, everything like that. Just make sure all your equipment is in order, and make sure you've got a kit bag with it all in. Another thing I want to mention with equipment, take things that you don't normally sort of take with you. So whether it's throat lozenges, things like that, because if you're in a very chalky indoor environment, a couple of days, 2 or 3 days of competing, and that chalk can actually dry out your throat. You can get a sore throat. Obviously the intensity is so high, there's a chance of getting sick maybe, so make sure you take like I said, throat lozenges or some Lemsip sachets, things like that that can help you maintain as you go through, along with blister pads. I mean, if you rip, ideally you don't rip in the first place, but if you rip, you need everything there ready to strap on so that you can keep competing at the best of your ability. The next thing is strategy, okay, and this is something a lot of people talk about, but there is a long-term and a short-term strategy. And what I mean by that is long-term is look at the whole event. Look over the whole event. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because You could go on forever, but look at the whole event. How many events are in the competition? Is it 3? Is it 6 events? And break them down and see where you're going to do like the best, see where you're not going to do so well, and don't hurt yourself too badly on one event so that it wrecks the rest of your competition. And one example I can give you is an event at regionals from 2013, which had 100 wall balls, 100 pull-ups, 100 pistol squats, and 100 dumbbell snatch. And I mean, it wrecked a lot of people. And the next event right after that was 21:15.9 deadlift and a high box jump, and the deadlift was heavy. And after those pistols and dumbbell snatches, a lot of people's backs were fried. And if they had just toned the intensity down in that 100 dumbbell snatches, they would have probably done better in the next workout, and their overall score of the whole weekend would have been better. So that's what I mean by long-term strategy. Plan the whole weekend where you think, what events you can really push in, what ones you might need to hold back in depending on your strengths and weaknesses. And when it comes to short-term strategy, you know what I mean. Have a plan for the workout, right? Have a plan for your warm-up, have a plan for how you're going to break the workout up, have a plan for how you're going to cool down, have a plan for where you're going to go, where you're going to rest, things like that. So make sure you've got a short-term and a long-term strategy in place. Moving on to the next thing now, and this is a really big one, which is nutrition. Again, it's something that everybody knows nutrition is important, but they don't sort of know why they're meant to do things. Okay, it is no secret that you're going to need a lot of energy right at your fingertips, so that's carbohydrates as you go through the weekend, and a lot of fluids. So one thing I can really recommend you do is, in between events, you want fluids and you want sugar. Really and truly, that's all you need. And then in the evenings, you need a bit more protein and potentially fat as well. Fat's quite hard to digest, so try and avoid fat during the competition day when your body switches to its sympathetic state and it's in its fight mode and you're doing your workouts. You're not going to be digesting much then. So that's when you need sugar, real simple things to digest. I like chocolate milk after a workout, bananas, chocolate. And then in the evenings, that's when I have my bigger meal, and that's when I get my athletes to have their bigger meal. And again, it would be some simple starchy carbs. Again, avoiding the fiber as much as possible because your gut takes a lot of energy in your gut to break down, fats and fibers. So still just stick to real simple carbohydrates, potato, sweet potato, easy to digest proteins like fish, chicken. And obviously a little bit of fat as well in the evenings, but in general you want to start pushing more towards the carbohydrates, really easy to digest stuff. So again, give it a go and see how you feel. Just pretty much stay topped up on sugar and stuff through the day. Like I said, I go with chocolate milk and bananas and fruit. A big breakfast in the morning is generally good, and that can be pretty much general, whether it's sort of a porridgey meal or you're having your bacon and eggs and maybe some pineapple, some fruit, something like that. But yeah, through the day, lots of sugars, and then in the evening, get in a lot of food in the evening so you can recover overnight, and keep it very simple to break down as far as the proteins go, which is that fish and chicken. The other thing with nutrition is load up on vitamin C during that weekend, maybe start a day before. And the reason for this is that everyone's got a baseline, right? Everyone's got a baseline. And if you supplement with vitamin C all the time, then your baseline's going to be high. And when it comes to a competition, it's not really going to make any difference. So if you can keep your baseline of vitamin C intake kind of normal, not too high, and then bump it up for the weekend to like 1,000 milligrams a day over the weekend, you're going to find that your recovery and your immune system is going to handle things a lot better. So when I say cycle things, what I mean by that is you do it with everything, right? Like you do it with your creatine supplements, you even do it with your training, you'll cycle the intensity of training. And the reason is if you don't cycle it, you're just going to stay at baseline, and your body's not going to be pushed in either direction, okay? That's your baseline. So what I mean by that is cycle that vitamin C. So don't have much, or just have a normal amount, and then when it comes to the competition, peak your vitamin C so that you don't end up getting sick throughout that competition, which happens to a lot of people because the intensity is just so high. The last thing now, moving on, is mindset. And a lot of people get the mindset thing wrong. They really do. And it's a very fine line, a very fine line. You'll see the top 10 competitors at any given region could potentially go to the CrossFit Games if their mindset was on point. Physically, they're all pretty much the same. And physically, I'd even say anyone in the top 20 has the ability to get to the CrossFit Games. Okay, so what separates people? It's their mindset. And what I want you to focus on with your mindset is it's not about beating everyone down, beating the opposition. It's about running your own race, right? You've got to understand this. You've got to run your own race, and you've got to find your zone. You've got to find your flow. And the way to do that is to pretty much switch your brain off. You want to get it in the right brain wave, and you can look this stuff up and research it more, and I suggest you do. Find the right brain wave, which is the balance between not thinking and being purely relaxed but very, very focused. If you can find that brainwave, if you can find that zone, which is what we call the zone, that's when you're going to compete your best. Okay, that is where you'll see it in people's faces, like a blank face, very relaxed but very focused. That's where you want to be. Don't worry about, don't be thinking about hitting PRs. Don't be thinking about beating the person next to you, because even that little bit of thought is a barrier. It's a little bit of tension. Even though it pushes you to go hard, if you find your zen, if you find your flow, it will be effortless, right? You'll sort of breeze through, and those PBs and those fast workout times will happen. Okay, so they're my 6 tips that often get overlooked or often get thought about incorrectly, okay? So number 1 was the environment. Number 2 was the support crew. Number 3 was the equipment. Number 4 was your strategies. Number 5 was nutrition. And number 6 was your mindset. If you can get those things in order, okay, this is stuff you can do outside of your training, outside of the box. If you can get these things in order, it's going to make a huge difference to the way you compete.